Imagine a world where you stop aging at 25, a strange clock is activated in your arm, and now you only have one more year to live, unless you earn more time. Imagine time is now the currency, and you can earn it and spend it. That's why today on the Summarizer, in time. This is the story of Justin Timberlake, who is now called Will Salas, a young man of 28 years old, who lives with his mother who looks much younger than him, though that same day she turns 50. Will lives in a poor neighborhood, wakes up with less time than hours of the day, and works in a factory for a few hours, while the cost of living keeps increasing day by day. Money does not exist, and everything works with time. Once you are 25 years old, this clock is activated, and grabbing the arm of another person, you pay or receive payments. So, unless you're 25 years old, you can't buy stuff? What would happen if you don't have any arms in this universe? Do animals have time?
No idea.
After work, Will goes to a bar where we meet his friend Boral. But Boral is always drunk, and he really doesn't matter. The important thing is that at the bar is a drunk rich man with a century in his watch. Will tells him they are gonna kill you for that time, but this man doesn't leave. At that moment, some gangsters appear and take everybody out of the bar, except for the rich guy. These men want all that time, so they are gonna fight for it, doing what seems like a strange arm wrestling. But this man was so drunk, he first goes to the toilet. There Will appears to save and hide him from the bad guys during the night. Apparently, this man's name is Henry Hamilton. He has lived for 105 years, and he is tired of living. He wants to finally die. That's why he came to the most dangerous neighborhood to get drunk in a bar. Henry tells us that the reason why taxes and the cost of living are getting higher and higher is because in order to let the rich live forever, the poor must die. Not everyone can live forever. At morning, while Will was sleeping, the rich guy gives him 106 years and left a note that says, "Don't waste my time." He goes to a bridge, his time ends, and he dies. After Henry's suicide, Will goes to see his friend Beryl, and he does the worst thing you can do with a friend with a drinking problem. He gives his friend 10 years, who immediately goes to the bar. That night, his mother comes back from work, and she has to take a bus to meet Will, but now the cost of the ride is 2 hours, and she can't afford it, so now she must run. Realizing she wasn't on the bus, Will starts running to reach her, but just as they are about to touch each other, she dies in Will's arms. In the meantime, we now meet Raymond Leon, the leader of the Timekeepers, who would be like the police of this reality. They discover Henry's body, and now they want to know where is all that time, because they are the Timekeepers and that's what they do. Meanwhile, Will, sad about the death of his mother, decides to leave the poor time zone and go to New Greenwich, a luxurious residential area on the outskirts of the city where rich people live, in search of revenge. He gets into a cab and passes through the different time zones paying tolls inaccessible to the rest of the people in the city. Already in New Greenwich, we see how all the rich people live quietly without the need to run. Will goes to an expensive hotel and gets a suit. He now can do what rich people can do: sleep, eat, drink champagne, see nice girls, and go to the casino. But before the casino, the police watch the cameras and realize that someone has moved through different zones. So now they think Will killed Henry and are looking for him. Back to the casino, Will sits at a poker table against a rich man with 6,000 years on his watch. They talk a bit, bet 200 years. Will goes all in and has only 30 seconds left. But the film has 1 hour left, so conveniently to the plot, he wins, like 1,000 years. After the game, this man presents his daughter Sylvia to Will, and she invites him to a party tomorrow night. So Will buys a super expensive car and goes to the party. Sylvia talks and dances with him. She knows he came from the ghetto because he ran. She also is worried because with all that time, she will never do anything foolish. So he took her to the beach and they go into the sea. The fact is that nobody cares that they went into the sea. The important thing is that then the police arrive and interrogate Will.
What are you doing in this zone?
He explains that Henry Hamilton gave him 100 years, and the rest he won in gambling. But the police don't believe him, so they take his time and only leave him 2 hours. At that moment, Will escapes and kidnaps the rich guy's daughter. The cops follow him, but he lost them driving like Toretto, which considering he was poor and didn't have a car is really surprising. They finally come back to his town. Okay, you remember he was Toretto? Oh my god, those special effects. It looks like a toy car. After the crash, the mafia guys show up and steal the girl's time, but they hear something so they have to leave. They now have 35 minutes left each. With their time running out, they go looking for their friend Boral, but his wife tells them he got drunk and died with 9 years on his watch, so they end up selling some earrings for 2 days. Later, Will calls Mr. Weiss and demands 1,000 years for his daughter's rescue. He also talks with Leon about Will's father's death, but we really don't care, because in the plot, Will never explained what happened to him. They then go to his house and Sylvia asks some questions about his family. He tells her that his mother timed out and his father was a fighter. So there he explains how his father used to win the fights. He would wait until the moment when his time was about to run out, and when the opponent looked at his watch and lost his attention, he would turn his arm around and end up winning. The next morning, they were waiting for her father to send the time for the rescue, but he didn't send anything. So Will tells Sylvia to call police to pick her up. It was all finished. So he gives her a gun to defend herself while talking on the phone. While Sylvia is talking to her father, the timekeeper shows up and pulls a gun on Will, but she shoots him and they run away with his car. But don't worry, the policeman is alive and another colleague picks him up. Will and Sylvia stop a cab, steal some time, take the car, and spend the night there, while the police are still looking for them. Now, this fugitive couple is going to steal one of these lending money places. Because I didn't tell you, but Sylvia's father is like a big banker who has many places where he lends time to poor people at very high interest rates. They get to this place, drive in with a truck, break a couple of windows, and that's it. Conveniently, there are no cops and the vault is wide open. Yes, the giant security vault door is wide open. And by the time the police arrive, it's too late. With all the time they stole, they start to distribute it among the poor people. On TV, we observe how during 5 days, they already did 6 robberies. Probably the security vaults of all of them were open. Otherwise, it's not explained how 2 people with pistols could do that in 5 days. Meanwhile, the gangsters continue murdering and robbing people of the ghetto, and now they are going to try to catch Will, because the police is offering a reward of 10 years. Meanwhile, the couple is in a hotel. The police show up, but they manage to escape through the roofs, and then on a bus, where it's the same driver who didn't let Will's mother get on the bus. They go to a hotel and rent out all the rooms so no one can bother them. But just as they are going up to their room, this man shows up and sees them. These gangsters grab a bunch of random people to tell them where Will is. A poor guy has no idea, and just for that they kill him. But another one is the one who had seen them at the hotel, so he tells them where they are in exchange for part of the reward, though he's probably already dead. They enter the hotel and catch Will and Sylvia. Making the same mistake he made with the millionaire in the bar, he thinks Will deserves a final chance, so they will fight. Wait a minute, the reward was for delivering them alive, I guess. Why would they fight when Will probably has at most 2 days on his watch? Why don't you just take them to the police and earn the reward? This fight makes no sense. Well, continuing with one of the least exciting fights in the world, Will seems like he's going to die, but using the same technique his father used, he waits for the opponent to lose focus and kills everyone. But all this about giving money away to the poor is useless, because the rich just increase the interest rate on loans, increase the cost of living, and that's it. They solve the problem. To make a really big change, they need 1 million years. For this, they go back to New Greenwich to see Mr. Wise. Sylvia seems to give up, but Will infiltrates as one of the bodyguards, and they take Mr. Wise to steal 1 million years. Yes, the security, the police, and the bodyguards are almost as bad as the ones in the Lupin series. Then in case you haven't seen it, up here is the summary of the first season. Continuing with the lack of security, Mr. Wise has his password as the birthday of his other daughter, so they easily steal this thing that is like a pen drive with 1 million years. But before leaving, Mr. Wise tells them that for a few to be immortal, many must die.
No one should be immortal if even one person has to die.
All the cops start to panic because they stole 1 million years, so they start chasing Will and create a barricade of cars to keep him out of the poor time zone. To no one's surprise, the barricade doesn't work, and he drives right through the cardboard-like security checkpoint. He gets to the ghetto and the police crash his car, but Will gives the time to a poor girl, so she shares the time with the rest of the people of the ghetto, and hiding in the crowd, they escape. The timekeeper is still chasing them, and just as he is about to arrest them, he runs out of time and dies. At that moment, Will and Sylvia realize they have less than 1 minute left on their watches. Yes, They stole 1 million years, they had it with them in the car during hours but forgot to put some time on. They realize that in the car, the cop had some time and go running to find it. Will arrives first, and in a similar scene to the one at the beginning, he catches up to Sylvia and now they both survive, at least until the next day. Meanwhile, the citizens of the poor region begin to migrate and cross over to the richer places, where nobody knows what they're gonna do for a living. Will and Sylvia are still fugitives, and now the reward for them is 100 years. Now they are engaged in robbing even bigger banks. Really big ones. Isn't that too big? So there are two options. Either they have the vault open, or they have security and they go to jail like in any real-life bank. That was the summary of In Time. Comment which series or movie you'd like me to summarize for future videos. See you later.
Go to work.
Okay. Bye.